If you're a feminist, they got you. They got you. And by the time you're done with this video, I doubt you'll even be a feminist by the time you're done. So here we go. So you're not a feminist. You're actually a false doctrine that's a freelance staple for government control. You're not a feminist. You're an organization that's fixed to a certain cause that has no ending. You're not a feminist. You're a means to no end. You're an object. You're not a feminist. You're objectified. You're a tool. You're a linchpin in a system that means to destabilize and to scrutinize the value of what traditional values really mean. You're not a feminist. You're actually just an operation that's fixed in a system that's worked against nothing but the benefit of their own means. You're not a feminist. You're actually just a placeholder for something temporary until a better solution's found. You're not a feminist. You're actually just an indoctrinated false narrative that's been pushed for generation upon generation to destabilize humanity. You're not a feminist. You're actually just something to explain another thing for an excuse to condone another. You're not a feminist. You're actually just a brainwashed, hypnotized, hurt person that's been destabilized by both federal and state. You're not a feminist. You're actually somebody that's looking for purpose in a system that doesn't give it. You're not a feminist. You're actually a person who deserves a future and a family. You're not a feminist. You're actually a human being who deserves a future with somebody. You're not a robot. You're not a feminist. A feminist is actually a hypnotized being. It's a state of mind. It's a false narrative. It's a false spirit sent down for no means to an end, except for to ruin humanity and destroy the narratives of having children. You're not a feminist. You're just a freelance linchpin to stop the traditional values that's thrusted humanity nowhere but forward. You're not a feminist. You're actually a destabilized variant and a piece of organization that does nothing but hold humanity back from what it really needs to be. You're not a feminist. You're actually a displaced version of what a female is supposed to be, and that's why the government just keeps lying to you and lying to you. You're not a feminist. You're a woman that wants more and more and more, but it's insufficient to what the human body actually needs and what the human brain actually suffices to. You're not a feminist. So you see, when it comes down to it, the ideology of what a feminist really is, it's a means to an end. It's an object. Feminism objectifies women more than pornography and an abusive relationship could ever do. You're not a feminist. You're actually a person who's fighting for a means to no end. You're not a feminist. You're a person that is placed in an organization bigger than you, and you don't understand what you're doing. You're not a feminist. You're just a little variant in a system that tries to destabilize and brainwash people into not having kids and to not starting families. You're not a feminist. You're actually just a key and a placeholder and a piece that's destroyed billions of lives under divorce and marriage. You're not a feminist. You're a freelance agent that benefits the government to help them destabilize the value of family traditions and values. You're not a feminist. You're just a piece that's benefiting other people that are bigger than you. You're not a feminist. You're in a system that you don't understand, playing a game that you'll never win. You're not a feminist. You know what I mean? So stop lying to yourself saying that you're this example of this new age ideology. You're not a feminist. These people, they lie to themselves. They sit there and they run themselves around in circles thinking that they're living, but they're really not. You're not a feminist. You have no values whatsoever except for your own. So you're really a narcissist, not a feminist. You're not a feminist. You're actually selfish, and you only think about yourself in the hindsight. You're not a feminist. You're actually a person who's set in place to be a milestone within the destabilization of family traditions and values. There's tons of reasons why I could bring up you're not a feminist. Because the truth is you're just not. Feminism means something else. They only put the word feminism in front of it to fool you. To put a gender in front of it. A private part. That's it. You're not a feminist. A feminist ain't even a woman. But you consider yourself to be. You're not a feminist. You're actually a human being that's been placed in a system that's been forced to manipulate and false indoctrinate. You're not a feminist. You're actually just a worker of iniquity in the eyes of God and Jesus Christ. And you should be ashamed of yourself. You're not a feminist. You're a person that benefits in a materialistic world and an existence that's beyond the material. You're not a feminist. You're actually a person who uses a means to an end, but opposes that by doing the exact same thing. You're not a feminist. You're actually something else that's been redefined under subliminal messaging and subliminal brainwashing. You're not a feminist. They've been lying to you since day one. So you're not a feminist. It's this system that's been false indoctrinating women because they're the easiest to get to when it comes to state of mind. You're not a feminist. You're actually just a woman who wants equal rights, but also you want to be treated like a real woman. So you're not a feminist. I mean, these are just the reasons as to why these false indoctrinations have been brainwashing. Not just among women, but among men too. We sit here and we hold up an ideology that neutralizes human paradigm, that thrusts backwards a society that can grow and become bigger potential. You're not a feminist. You're actually a person that's against humanity's growth, and you decide to get rid of it altogether. You're not a feminist. Feminism doesn't really exist if you think about it from the root. It's just a state of mind that the government puts in place inside of the female to have her think that she has some sort of authority in this world. But really, she becomes more of an authority as a woman of example and a woman that leads. You're not a feminist. You're actually just a false narrative indoctrinated by the government. That's pretty much it. That's pretty much the main thing. And if you think about it, it's the truth. Because there's really no opposite to a feminist. There's no equivalent parallel to a feminist. Men, we only live to survive to protect women and children. Men are forced to protect and provide. Those two things don't involve their well-being or narcissism in any type of way. It's a total destabilization of humanity, and it's an ideology that's been carried down from false narrative to false narrative, through generation. It's been a cancer among society, and it's been a cancer among governments and civilizations that's been nowhere but, ahead. So you're not a feminist. You're actually a destabilized factor in a system that is traditional and actually does work. So you're not a feminist. You're fed false lies, you're fed a bunch of ridiculous ideologies that honestly have no means to an end whatsoever. But they use other people for means to an end. You're not a feminist. A feminist has this false narrative thinking that there's a fulfilling life ahead, but there isn't. You're not a feminist. Because at the end of the day, if you continue down that path, it's just going to end you nowhere but alone and by yourself. And nobody's really going to care.